Let's go to our weekly update from the front lines of the war with political correctness, especially amongst the millennial generation. Charlie Kirk, founding president of Turning Point USA. Are you with us?
I'm here.
Great. Welcome. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And thank you for writing this article that I just posted for foxnews.com about... Really, you write about the president's incredible speech and the First Lady's comments on Venezuela from Miami on Monday night. We played some excerpts yesterday, an incredible speech. You have a question in this article that you can read now at foxnews.com, and I'm going to ask you to answer it. So, direct quote from your piece. Do the American people know how deadly socialism is and how real the threat of it is here in the United States? Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA, what's your answer to that question?
Well, the answer is mixed. Some people do not know the horrors of socialism. Too many people do not, and others do. And the essence of my piece that you nicely shared, Dr. Gorka, thank you, on Twitter, was essentially is that for years we always talked about socialism as being a foreign threat, that we can't bring it here. There are large elements that we have already brought here. In fact, it's infecting and destroying some of our previous greatest states in the country. California, for example, should be the leading state economically. Instead, they have the most homeless people in the country. They have failing schools. They have illegals running all throughout the state. They're totally bankrupt. And anyone who's been in California can tell you that the financial condition is horrible. And that is socialist policies in practice and in place. And you have the front runners of the Democrat Party being pseudo-socialists, Democrat socialists. So the essence of my piece is that it's here, the fight is on, and not enough people understand or realize and recognize that the future of our country will be determined whether or not we can teach the truth about Marxism and collectivism and socialism to that next generation, something that both of us try to do every single day, right? Dr. Gorka, you speak to our students, you talk about your own family's personal experience of the horrors of communism and the horrors of socialism, and too many students are being taught in our universities that America is a horrible place, it must be destroyed and redefined, and the answer is somehow these collectivist redistributionist policies, which you and I both know have done more harm to the Western world than any other ideology ever created or ever written. So we have a moral obligation to fight this, both here in our country and in our university.
This is a very important point. Not only more than any other ideology, but more than any other religion. Because everybody,
Correct.
On the left, they like to blame religions. Oh, Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, they're so violent. Well, the fact is, socialism has killed more people than any belief system since the beginning of humankind, whether it's the Aztecs and the human sacrifices, whether it's the Muslim warriors creating the caliphate, whether it's Christian crusaders, it doesn't matter. Nobody killed more than 100 million human souls, and that's socialism. One last question for this segment. We had this announcement of the Green New Deal, which is really socialism. The rapidity with which the leading left-wing candidates and the presidential candidates glommed on to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's plan, it was almost instantaneous. Are they doing that, in your opinion, Charlie Kirk, because they believe in it, or because they want to be seen as cool as AOC?
Well, I would like to think some of them have enough common sense to realize the fictitious nature. I actually think AOC believes it. I truly do.
Oh, I believe that. I'm talking about, the Kamalas and everybody else.
Sure. I would like to think that Kamala Harris and Cory Booker believe with a little bit more ounce of reality in them. I could be wrong. But what it really has come down to is that the Democrat primary is a mob of people that demand the most stuff.
Yeah.
That's really what it is. It's
right.
Who can give me the most amount of stuff? This is what will determine the Democrat primary. And also who can hate the president the most and most effectively. And so what you're going to see here, and Bernie Sanders entering the race in the last 24 hours. And now, Dr. Gorka, I made an accurate prediction last week. Remember where I said the president should sign the spending resolution and declare an emergency?
Yes.
I'm going to make a prediction right here with Bernie Sanders.
Do it.
I said yesterday he's going to raise a tremendous amount of money. He's going to rise to the top of the polls very, very quickly. He's going to do some very big rallies, scare a lot of people. And mark my words, Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, or even AOC will challenge the fact that he's not diverse and not young and not a woman because he is not part of the identity politic mold. And then he will apologize for it. That is my prediction. He will capitulate to it. He will.
All right.
The left has become so screwed up and they've become so out of whack that someone like Bernie Sanders must apologize for not being young and not being a woman and not being a minority.
Well, you heard it here. We will keep him to it because he's here every week with our update from the front lines. That's Charlie Kirk of Turning Point USA. He will stay with us for the next segment. What has Donald Trump tweeted? The Washington Post ignored basic journalistic standards because it wanted to advance its well-known and easily documented biased agenda against President Donald J. Trump. That's a quote. And then the president adds, Covington student suing Washington Post. And then final line, go get him, Nick. Fake news. The president, I think Twitter was invented for Donald Trump. Charlie Kirk, president of Turning Point USA, an organization that if you want to support the fight against the crazy radical left, I can think of none better than Turning Point USA. What's the importance of the Covington story, Charlie Kirk? Especially after the recent revelations with regards to the so-called homophobic, racist attack against Jussie Smollett?
A couple things, and here's a new twist that no one's really talking about. This shows the positives of the Trump taking over the Republican Party. Let's think back to Kavanaugh, how easy it would have been for Brett Kavanaugh to withdraw his nomination to go on the Supreme Court. Instead, he took a page from President Trump's book and fought, and the president fought alongside him, and we pushed back the mob. Now, you look at this Covington example, which, of course, the media got terribly wrong and misrepresented. It would be very easy right now for the Covington parents and Nick Sandmann to do nothing, to just move on and
Absolutely.
say, oh, they made a mistake. Instead, they take a page out of President Trump's book, and they fought. Now, what's the importance of that? Well, of course, we like to see, people stand for truth, but even more so, finding the left is being held accountable for the damage they do to our society and to our country. And you saw that with Brett Kavanaugh. It would have been so easy for President Trump or for any other Republican president. They would have just pulled the nomination. They would have said, we're so sorry. There's too much controversy. There's too much chatter, too much noise. We'll be back with another nominee very soon. Instead, they stood and fought. And so you could start to see the entire conservative movement follow our leader, President Trump, and not take it anymore. And I think that's one of the reasons why you saw him win the 2016 election. For far too long, we've allowed the left to run roughshod over our country. And it's so nice to see the Covington parents stand up for what is true, and the libel that had happened against their son. Will they win? I don't know. The libel laws are very difficult in this country.
Yes.
In the United Kingdom, for example, it's a lot easier to win suits like this. It's irrelevant whether they lose or not. The Washington Post is then going to have to spend millions of dollars in legal fees to defend their shotgun reporting and their really rush to judgment, and the movement will be better for it. And the same thing that's happened with the Jussie Smollett case here in Chicago, where I am actually right now and where I'm from. Originally, I knew this story was nonsense from the first time I heard it. Negative 4-degree weather, two guys wearing Make America Great Again hats in downtown Chicago. I don't even think they sell those hats anywhere in downtown Chicago. And then according to his original story, he says, they said after they did the attack, this is MAGA country. I've never heard anyone say that, ever. You and I, Dr. Gorka, have been to hundreds of Make America Great Again rallies. I've never even heard that. As this bizarre story unfolds, he should be held accountable. People must be held accountable for what they do wrong, and there must be consequences to your actions. And Jussie wanted nothing more than to play the victim for months and to make a national news story around how horrible President Trump is because he's rising up these hateful voices. Jussie, you're the hateful one. You're the one that is filled with vitriol for this country, and I hope you're held accountable if it turns out that you did make this thing up, which all the facts are pointing to that.
Yeah, because that's the real hate crime. Charlie Kirk, you're so absolutely correct. Engendering tension amongst the American population based upon skin color, which is what he did. He said he was attacked by white MAGA supporters. That is a hate crime. Follow him at Charlie Kirk 11. This is perhaps one of the most important messages of Turning Point USA. I get asked a lot when I speak at your events, what's the one thing I can do? I get high schoolers, I get college-age kids asking me, and I tell them the same thing, Charlie. stand up for the truth. You don't have to get preachy. You don't have to get on a soapbox. But if you don't stand up for the truth, then those who wish to take your freedoms away from you have won. It is that simple. Follow him, Charlie Kirk 11 on Twitter, Turning Point USA, TP USA, one of the most important organizations there is today in America. Along with the Heritage Foundation, the National Rifle Association, and Judicial Watch, I think that's about it. Those are the biggies that are keeping us free. I'm Sebastion Gorka. This is America First.
American way. Of course, the next best thing to a seat in the stands is a seat in front of a 19-inch RCA Victor television.
One more day to Labor Day weekend, the traditional occasion for tasty outdoor barbecues or picnics.
Agree with all the obstacles and with all the enemies who are between me and
Bye.